Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on the CEN CENELEC IT project that will overview their status, of course. My name is Els, and as usual, I am here to moderate a bit in the background the webinar. Also, as usual, you are all muted by default, just to keep this webinar a bit fluent and to avoid any background noises. Everybody's muted, so we invite you to enter your questions in the Q&A panel of the webinar that you should be able to open. The speakers will either during the presentations or at the end then provide you with an answer. We are recording this webinar, so we will make available the recording via the website as well, and we can provide you with the presentation as well. So please use the Q&A and then we continue with the presentation. So please, Eric, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Els. So first, I hope you all can see my screen, which I'm sharing right now. So let me start with a short introduction. So as you know, we have different channels now to communicate on the IT projects plan. And so we already communicated on that, but so the key projects are also the list of key projects, and their status is published on this page that you have right here. So there is a password CCMC to use to access this page. So basically what you will find there is the same, more or less the same content as we will go through today. So it's mainly the key projects, so smaller projects and change requests are not covered. And of course, today we will go more in details in some of those projects. So I can maybe show you, if you don't know yet how it looks like. So if you access this page, so you will have the list here of key projects with a timeline, and for each of them a description and the status of the project here on the left. In some cases, you also have indications of decisions whenever there is a BT or an AGCA decisions related to the project. On top of that, we have also foreseen 2 webinars in this year, just like we did the previous year. So we have the webinar of today, and then we will also foresee another webinar in November this year. The presentation and all the materials, so the PPT, but also the video recording of this session will be available from the Join CEN CENELEC website. In the section Our Services, Training, IT Tools. So let me start now with the project status. So first, one of the major CEN project is the replacement of content Livelink, content server or Livelink. So I will just give here an overview, and then Tamara and Mark will go further in details in the status of the different phase of the project. So as you know, we are planning to replace the current content server or so-called also Livelink technology with a new one. The new one is called Nuxeo, and this project will be split it in 2 different phases. So in Nuxeo, we will have a new environment. We will have the CEN document environment, and there we will have 2 spaces. We will have a space for the technical bodies, and we will have space for the governing bodies. So the first phase, which is almost finished, will be the migration of the content of e-committee to the technical body space. The second phase that we will start to tackle soon, but Tamara maybe will give some more information on this, is the migration of the governing bodies. So also from the Livelink platform to the governing bodies platform in Nuxeo. It's interesting to know that for the time being, the governing bodies are directly on Livelink, not in e-committee, which means that they are completely disconnected from the complete, I would say, e-committee ecosystem, like meeting registration, but also the global directory. So the idea is to have them now in the ecosystem when they move to send documents and to the governing body space. The important platform on Livelink is eTrans. So that's the platform that we use as a distribution channel for the standards. We also use it as a workflow platform to exchange documents with the technical committees, but also with what we call the translators. So namely DIN, AFNOR, DK, and BSI. So here the plan is to try to remove this workflow part from eTrans, and for that we will have two separate projects. The first one, which is the submission interface, which is an ongoing project, and so Dorothée will give also some information about this one. And then also we will also launch a project to discuss with the AFNOR and DK how we see the translation process in the future. So, and for eTrans, for the time being, we still have to analyze that and to decide what will be the future solution for eTrans. So we have also other, I would say, groups which are hosted directly on Livelink, so not any committee. So we have some of them which have a TC-like structure. That's typically the BT/TF or BT working groups. So the plan is to move this one to the technical body space. We have also a lot of groups which are I would say in the perimeter also of the governing bodies. It's more sometimes more informational material for the NSB and national committees, like for example information on legal case and so on. So that's still to be analyzed, but probably this one will move to the governing body space. And then we will have also a more ad hoc platform like has the CCP. And for this one, this will be a more case-by-case decision to see, okay, where we will move them and which technology we are going to use. What is sure is that our directing line will be to align as much as possible with what is done at ISO. So this will be really considered for each of those migrations. Okay, so that's for the big picture, and now I will give the floor to Tamara to say more about the e-committee migration. So Tamara, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. So good morning, everybody. I'm Tamara. I'm one of the latest additions to Eric's IT team, and I'm working as a project manager on the CEN documents migration, which is led by Marc Bellier. So as a quick reminder, and to give you some context, the new CEN documents platform on the Nuxeo server was chosen to replace the e-committees in order to exchange work documents in a controlled environment. So the main features of this new application are a role-based access control, a structured documents library, and an automated handling of end documents. So here on the right, you can see the new platform. Okay, and now so we can move on. The main benefits are that the users can now navigate in a harmonized environment, meaning from one tenant to another in the same application, so ISO and CEN. Also, there is only one book of records for all the AFNOR and DIN hosted committees, making it naturally much easier to find documents. It also has a more modern user interface, making it easier to find, to access, and to upload documents. Then there's a new search function, actually new search functions, making it easier to find documents. We have the committee document search, which is the search panel to search for documents in a committee. Then we have the advanced search, which is a broader search for documents for all the committees where we have access. And finally, a safe search that allows you to perform a full text search throughout all the committee documents and metadata. And this is saving a lot of time. And finally, the new platform also has new features such as bulk upload, and then an improved rendition. So the PDF rendition supports PDF, Excel, PowerPoint, and images. Now, I'll give you some information about the current status. So we've literally just finished the migration of our last chunk, the chunk 3, last Tuesday, and I'm happy to say that all 2,063 technical committees have now been migrated. We've encountered a few challenges. As you know, AFNOR endured a cyber attack last February, which has considerably changed the initial planning, as we had to remove all the AFNOR hosted committees, including the AFNOR committees hosted on the CEN server. So for our chunk 1 and our chunk 2, we excluded them. And then, of course, we added them to our chunk 3, bringing it almost to 1,000 committees to migrate, which was obviously quite a lot. So we basically managed to stick to the schedule, but had to change the amount of groups to migrate. I'll now give you some figures. So ISO have 62,000 users, to which we've now added our CEN users, 24,000. But it's important to know that a lot of ISO users are also CEN users. So all in all, we have 86,000 users. And for CEN, we have 845,000 documents. We've already got some feedback from our chunk 1 and chunk 2 people, and it seems that the integration of having CEN and ISO on one platform really makes life easier, and that the new search function, which I've just described, has been greatly appreciated. Now, there are still a few things that need to be sorted out. So in addition to the normal migration of all the documents from all the technical committees, we've also had to do an additional step to realign the CEN document structure with the old DIN and AFNOR Livelink structures. We noticed that some documents went missing and some folders had been moved. So this is still being worked on. Then the integration with CEN projects. Well, projects is available at ISO and will soon be available at CEN. Regarding the disbanded committees, so they have not been migrated. As you can see, despite the number of total disbanded committees being quite high, the total number of disbanded committees with at least one document is actually quite low. So they will probably be integrated on the CEN documents platform with the status disbanded, just like they were on the Livelink, but this will be confirmed at a later stage. And now that we have, so the target for the end of content server is planned for the beginning of 2023. Now that we have migrated all the technical committees, we're going to focus on the governance groups, which we are actually starting now. We'll also focus on the non-technical committees such as BTBG, BTFF, sector fora, and specific platforms. So a technical analysis has already started, but it'll be carried out further in order to define the best way to migrate these platforms to a new environment, and of course we hope CEN documents, but maybe with some adjustments or changes. And regarding the governance groups, so the project will run over this year. ISO has launched its pilot project already and will be migrating their governance groups in June of this year. So that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. So Anna?
Yes, thank you. So my name is Anna Gauler, and I will tell you a bit more about the projects I'm working on and what their current status is. So the current status of the meeting registration system is, can you?
Yeah.
Yes, is that the CENELEC requirements, they were provided to IEC in 2019 in November, approved by the members. But the project is still in analysis by IEC, and IEC has the idea to create a reference group with participants from IEC, CEN, ISO, and national committees. And then the aim is to deliver an approach by the end of the year, by Q4 to 2021. Then the status of the CENELEC expert management system, the new release, that is the so-called new identity management system, which will replace the current expert management system. And the start of the development has been postponed to 2021, but all CENELEC requirements have been approved by PT already. And then my next project is the Sustainable Development Goals. And here, the idea is that European standards support the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN 2030 Agenda, and that during the development of standards, SDGs are taken into consideration, and that an approach is developed and applied to demonstrate whether a specific European standard supports one or also several SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. What does it mean for IT? So there was a BT decision on it, and our work will be to create a link between the CEN and CENELEC work items and the SDGs. You will see that the applications affected are the working area and projects online. And we will also make all information publicly available on CEN and CENELEC websites. And here we will do or develop something similar that ISO and IEC have already. So the idea is to start the project by Q2 2021, and the delivery is foreseen by Q4 2021. So, and here is just a small example of how the application working area and projects online will be affected. In working area, the idea is to add a new question in the form for certain types of decisions. And in projects online, you will also see the information about the SDGs on the work item page. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. So Lisa.
Yes, thank you and good morning, everybody. So my turn now to tell you more about some projects I'm responsible for. And the first one is about the CENELEC and IC data stream project. So yes, Eric, you can go next slide. Thank you. So up to now, we have been using the IC XML data feeds to create the parallel IC and CENELEC project in our database, and also to update this project. But as you may know, IEC plans to decommission these data feeds by the end of June. So we needed to make a transition from the XML to the new IEC API project and publications. Also, we took the opportunity of this project to implement some decision that was taken by the CENELEC BT. So the first requirement was to create the CENELEC parallel project at an earlier stage. So currently we are creating the CENELEC work item when the IC project is at the CD stage. So from now on, when this project is deployed in production, we will start creating the CENELEC work item at the ACD stage. And the second requirement was to import the initial plan provided by IC for the parallel project. So namely, we will import the dates or the target dates for the CD, the CDV, the FDs, and the publication stage. So this project is currently under the user acceptance testing phase, and the delivery is foreseen by the end of this month. So, yeah, the next step, what we will start in June 2021 is to import the dates for the opening and the closure of the CDV and the FDs. So currently we are using the XML revisable CDV to import the CDV's dates. But this XML will also be the provision of this XML will be decommissioned by IC by the end of this year. So again, we need to make the transition to the APIs, and for this we will use the new working documents APIs. So the delivery for this phase is foreseen by Q3 this year. And the third phase is planned for Q4. And we will use the API project to create automatically IC and CENELEC core agenda in our central database. So this is a brandly new feature. And the next steps in this project is to investigate if other CCMC processes can be automated using the IC APIs. Okay, so the second project I'm working with Thierry is about the extended role-based access. So as you know, last year we opened the access to projects online to all CEN and CENELEC experts, and for that we used the roles that are registered in the CEN Global Directory and in the CENELEC Expert Management System. And also considering the number of the high number of new potential user for this tool, we also improved the performance of projects online. And this year we've been working on the third phase of this project, which is to extend the access to the BT decision via quick search using roles in GD and EMS. So we open the access to the TC and the subcommittees secretaries and chairperson, and of course to the CEN BT members, CENELEC permanent delegates, and the BT observers. So this project was in accordance with the BT and the CEN BT and CENELEC BT decisions. So I would like to present you quickly our quick search application. So what is actually quick search? It is a search engine that allows you to navigate very easily through all CEN and CENELEC BT decisions, and to consult the documents that are associated to this BT decision, at least those that are archived since 2016. And not only BT decision, but you can also search for European standards or other type of deliverables, and also navigate through all CEN and CENELEC technical bodies. So the next slide, please. So what are the benefits of this tool? Firstly, it facilitates the access to CEN and CENELEC BT decision. As I said, you can easily find the documents that are associated to the BT decision. This tool ensures more transparency, so all the authorized users have access to the same level of information. And the last benefit is that the access to this tool is managed via the roles in the CEN Global Directory and the CENELEC expert management system. So there is no user management and additional work required from the NSBs and the national committees. So it's time for a live demo. So I will share my screen. Okay, I hope you can all see my screen now. So this is the home page of Quick Search. So you have a main search bar here where you can type any keywords. You can choose if it's a case sensitive or if you want to search for the exact word or phrase. On the left side, you have a menu with three main categories: the technical bodies, the decision, and the standard. So if I just click on search, okay, so you see that anything having this keyword has appeared on the results list here below. From here, I can filter on the category. So let's take, for example, technical body. Okay, and you see that because I've chosen one category, there is more filters that appeared below. So you can still filter on organization, on the body, or on the status of the technical body. And if I click on the technical body, it will actually redirect you to the related page on Projects Online. So this is what happens when you click either on a technical body or a standard. It redirects you to Projects Online directly. So this is why Quick Search is also open to all CEN and CENELEC experts like Projects Online is. But to have access to the BT decision on this tool, you need to have more access right and to have the proper role. So what you can do is to click on reset, or just to click on the cross to remove a filter. So I will search again for my keyword. Okay. Now, if I select decision, what I can see, because I have the access rights to see it, then again, you have more filters appearing. You can filter on the organization or on the body. Currently you have CEN BT, CENELEC BT. You can filter on a meeting or just search for decision by correspondence. You can filter on the status of a decision, on the dates. And if I click on a decision, it will open a new tab on the Quick Search tool. So where you can find some metadata related to the decision. So decision date, the status, the subject, the text of the decision. And here you have a link to the associated BT document. Okay, so this is for the demo. Eric, if you could share again your screen. Okay, thank you. And the next slide. Okay, so what I've just said, all CEN and CENELEC experts have access to the quick search tool, but only to the project, standardization project, and the technical bodies, because they are redirected to the related page on projects online. And to have access to the BT decision on quick search, you need to have at least one of these roles in the global directory or in the expert management system. So either CEN TC or as subcommittee secretary or chairperson for both GD and EMS. And in EMS, if you have also the role NC official or observer in CENELEC BT, you will get access to a quick search. For CEN BT members and observer, unfortunately, we don't have this role currently in the global directory, so we are still managing this access manually. Here in CCMC, I mean. So the next phase is about the logging using the standardization identity federation, so what we call the CIF. So when you connect on the quick search or in projects online, if you are not already authenticated, you will see that login page on the right. So you can log in either using the preferred login, which use your GD or EMS account, or you can use the alternative login and use your local CEN CENELEC account that was provided by us here in CCMC. But from now on, we encourage the users to use only the preferred login to authenticate themselves, because the alternative login will be removed in June 2021. So any user that do not have a global directory or EMS account can contact the user administrator of their national committee or national member. So this is a small overview of all the phases of this project. So phase 1, phase 2 were completed last year. The phase 3 was deployed yesterday, actually. And we are currently working on the phase 4. So the CIF has only authentication methods. And this one is foreseen in June 2021. Okay, so the last project from my side is about the CEN CENELEC harmonized APIs. So a small word about the current harmonized API that we've been working on is the working documents. So as you know, in Q4 last year, ISO and IAC released their new APIs on technical committee working documents. But for CEN and CENELEC, we need further development from ISO and IC to release our own working document API. The CEN API is linked to the migration of e-committee to Nuxio, which is now completed as told by Tamara. So we will start now working on the CEN API. For the CENELEC API, it requires a specific development from IC. IC already provided us with their estimation, and this project is planned for 2022. Yes, overview of what is forecasted for the harmonized APIs for CEN and CENELEC. So the project and publications APIs are available. This year we will start working on the CEN working documents API, and next year on the CENELEC working document API. The next phase and we will work with ISO and IC. It's an API on identities and roles, which is forecasted for 2022. The next one will be on CEN meetings 2022, and the last one will be on ballots, which is forecasted for 2023. Also, we have in our planning the development of some specific European feeds where we will expose all metadata related to standardization requests, mandates, directives, and also national standardization work, what we call the Info Pro. So this is planned for Q3 2021. Also this year, we have been working in improving our current project and publication APIs. So first of all, as you know, the current API gateway has been developed to be open in priority to CEN and CENELEC members, which of course can access everything. But in order to give access to our APIs to other type of stakeholders, we need to be able to allow more granular access rights to our APIs. So, for example, the affiliates and the companion standardization bodies or the European Commission should have access to or CEN and CENELEC metadata only, but not the CEN and CENELEC standard documents. For that, they have other channels to access some such documents. So the development of these granular access rights is almost completed, and the delivery is foreseen by the end of this month. Another improvement for API is the provision of the global directory IDs for the CEN technical bodies. So this new metadata will be exposed via the element URN alt. So I put an example here for the API project. So in the element owner and developer, you will have a new URN with the ID of the committee in the global directory. Also, this new metadata, the development is almost completed, and it will be foreseen. The delivery is foreseen by the end of May. And the next step, we will work on several change requests that have been raised by our members. So for the API's publication, we have the addition of the publication stage field, like it was done in ISO. For the API publication, we will start to provide the publication date. This metadata is currently only provided in the API project, so we will also expose it in the API publications. For the API project, we will expose all plan stage. So what we do currently for the stages is that we expose all the stages that are closed. We expose the current stage, and then we only expose the following the plan stage that follows the current stage. So what we will do is we will expose every plan stage until the publication of the project and the standard. And the next change for the API projects is the metadata on the official journal that is currently missing. So any citation of a project into the official journal of the European Union will be exposed in the API project at the level of the directive. So the all these changes will be delivered in Q3 2021. Yes, a small word about the discontinuation of the existing data feeds. So you should have received in March an email from us informing that we will stop the provision of the CENELEC delimited file and the project's data legacy in March this year. But at the request of some members, we needed to postpone it. We are currently working closely with this member to set up a discontinuation plan, and we will provide you with the new discontinuation date as soon as possible. Okay, yeah, this is all from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. So I don't know if Shannon is connected.
Yes, I'm here.
Ah, okay, you're there, Shannon. Okay, do you take the floor, or do you share your screen?
Oh, I can. Yes, if you would like me to.
Because I don't have the presentations.
Okay, I'll do it. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So this is for the online collaborative authoring project. This is being run by ISO and IEC, who are developing the tool, and we at CEN CENELEC are making sure that our requirements are incorporated and running pilots with our working groups. The project's divided into 3 steps. This is the original diagram provided by ISO, as you can see from the coloring. So there's step 1, which we rolled out already, started in October with 5 working groups. We'll come to them in a minute. But basically, the working groups can write their content inside this tool. It's kind of Word-like, but it has some additional features like automatically doing numbering in accordance with the internal regulations. There's commenting, concurrent editing, and a lot of things like that. The next step will be coming up later this year. It was originally going to be around June, but now it's been moved to September, where we can do the member commenting phase. This is linked to the public inquiry, so the comments will come into the same platform, which makes the resolution a lot tidier and easier. And then later next year, there'll be internal editing. So this is where the CCMC editing team and also the ISO editing team will be able to do the editing within the tool instead of having to export out to Word and then back into XML again. I've added a little bit of highlighting over the top of the original ISO diagram. So everything is working on quarterly sprints. So we're including new features, or the team is including new features progressively according to the feedback that we get and the priorities that we have. There's an additional work package that's not really represented on the diagram because it's more internal, which is integration with the production chain. So we need to make sure it links with all of the different systems in the flow. This will be different from the CCMC perspective compared to the ISO and IEC perspectives, because we've got different systems on our respective sides, at least in some of those systems. Interestingly, ISO and IEC have chosen to have separate backends. We're still understanding the architecture, at least on the IEC side, which will help us decide what we want to do on our side. The idea at the end is that this platform will be available on a voluntary basis is what's happening at ISO and IEC. We need to work out what that means in the CEN CENELEC world, whether that will also be completely on a voluntary basis, or will we strongly encourage or make it mandatory for all, or maybe for certain categories of deliverables. We have had 5 working groups represented by the 5 different colours here who have been piloting the system. The usage has been low, so this is the number of users who've connected at least once in the period. Over on the right, you can see the entirety from October when we went live until April, a few days ago. So we haven't had that many people using it, and it's been declining over time. We have investigated the low usage. This is largely not because there's anything wrong with the tool. It's because of the timing of the work that, that they've been doing. So they just haven't been writing content. They're not ready yet. We've been getting feedback. We wanted to send a survey jointly with ISO and IEC. It's been prepared, but we haven't sent it yet because of the low usage. It just doesn't really make sense to be getting this kind of feedback if they haven't used it. But we have got qualitative feedback from one of the working groups. They liked how intuitive it was user-friendly, nice features, but they're still using Word for some purposes. We need to understand a bit better, but they're talking about using the compare and combine features of Word to manage branching and versioning. We need to understand how that relates to the fact that separate clauses are editable separately within the new tool. But they've also raised some feature requests, one related to branching and versioning and rolling back instead of using words compare and combine. But they've also requested granular permissions so that certain people can only edit certain parts of a document. They want a redo function to like pressing Control-Y on your keyboard. And there's been requests for more flexibility with the kinds of things you can do with tables. They've also had training questions. And so we're working that into the change management program. Because of the low usage, we're going to issue a call for participation soon. This is a draft. We will be inviting lots of groups to register their interest, and we'll be running some info sessions. We're thinking about maybe doing 3 of them. So if you're interested, look out for that email and you can register there as well. We're also clarifying a little bit of the scope and which types of deliverables should this be used for. It definitely needs to be used for homegrowns, but should it also be used for adoptions, parallel modifications, and all of the many kinds? Should it only be used at creation stage or review stage, which is kind of obvious, but should it also be used at amendment and corrigendum stage? We've also got questions about what to do with exceptions. So for example, numbering, not all committees follow the same numbering scheme. And do we want to accommodate that or not? We need to figure that one out. And there's also the possibility that this could be used for different types of documents. So not only the ENs and so on, but also meeting minutes and whatever else that the working groups need to use. This is it for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Shannon. Okay. Okay, so the website revamping. So this one is for me. So the revamping of the website was approved by the CEN and CENELEC CAs. So the idea is to improve the design and to have a better navigation, but also so that the way the website are structured for the time being is that we have a joint CEN CENELEC website where we put all the, I would say, the common topic to CEN and CENELEC, and then we have a CEN website and a CENELEC website, and these websites are, I would say, targeting at the same time the public and to some extent also the members and experts. And so at the end, we have sometimes a website which is sometimes too detailed or too specific for the man in the street, and sometimes not detailed enough for the experts. So the idea here of the CA decision is to have now a joint CEN CENELEC public website and to have so which will target the public exclusively, and then to have a CEN and a CENELEC experts portal, where we will gather all the materials which are relevant for the experts and the members for the standardization community. So mostly the applications, but also the training material, the user's guide, so that they can access it in a very easy way. So that's really the objective. And so we also, what we will do as well is to further develop in the experts portal the means of communication towards the experts, because this is something which is lacking for the time being. We can communicate to certain community, the members and the technical body officers to some extent with mailing list, but then communicating to all the experts is something which is very complicated. And either we do it through the technical committee officers or through the members, but it's very difficult to do it directly. So the idea here is to develop, we will develop a news area in the experts portal so that we can post news, and also a subscription system so that people can subscribe and be informed when there is something new. And there will also a section which is something new dedicated to the projects, so that we can keep also the experts, the members, more informed on certain, I would say, major projects. So Shannon just talked about the collaborative authoring platform, but so we are thinking also of other areas like so the work which is done now for the standards of the future, machine readable format and so on. So maybe to expose more information in this area. As I said, so now the public website will be focused exclusively towards the public. But then also what we would like is that for what is more detailed information on the standardization project, that the experts and the members use more and more projects online. And as it was, I think, mentioned before by Elisa, we opened last year projects online to hold the experts, so they have access to this complete I would say complete projects online environment from last year. So in terms of phasing of the project, so last year we already released the BOSS website with a new design. The structure did not really change, but there are new features. Also, there is also a subscription feature so that you can be kept informed where the process and rules are adapted and when there is a change on the website. So for what concerns the public website and the CEN and CENELEC portals, they will be launched on the 30th. So the plan is to launch them on the 30th of June this year. So we are still on track. So this is the high-level planning. So we defined the design of the website in April. So we are currently busy in creating the structure and the content. And hopefully we hope to have finished by the end of this month, and to use June for some, let's say, a fine-tuning phase. And then there will be a presentation of those websites and of the public website and the portals at the CEN and CENELEC General Assembly on the 24th of June. And then there will be a go live, so it will be publicly available from the 30th of June. Okay, and now I will give the floor to Dorothée.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Dorothy Stadler. Many of you know me in a different context, but today I'm the project manager for the new CEN CENELEC submission interface. And the next slide, yeah. So what we're currently facing is that for CEN, TC officers use the eTrans folders in Livelink to give their data and documents to CEN, and for CENELEC, everything is done by email. So right now, you can imagine that there's many weak points, and the process is highly manual, in particular at CENELEC. And it's very resource consuming at the CCMC side, but I would expect also at the officer level, where there's frustration growing about missing documents or not the right quality of documents, and a long back and forth in order to be doing that. And obviously we are therefore also prone to a lot of errors. We have very low transparency on the process. So once a secretary sends their documents, there is no way for them to know whether CCMC has validated them, received them, if there's a problem, etc. And therefore there's no real traceability or monitoring possible. And when there's a follow-up on issues, it all has to be email-based, so it's really not very efficient. And we don't have any validation upstream. And by upstream, we mean at the secretary level. We don't give them any tools to really check whether or not what they are providing is correct or has some errors. And lastly, we have no possibility to capture any relevant metadata around the submission, like what is the language, for example, or which documents in total have been provided, etc. So there has been a CEN CENELEC BT decision that has approved the development of the submission interface for the submission of the standardization documents by the CEN and CENELEC technical bodies, secretaries to CCMC. So what is the submission interface going to be? It's basically a communication platform between the CC secretaries and their support teams and the CCMC. And this is both at the CEN and the CENELEC side. And it's going to aim to enable easy and step-by-step submission of the documents at the key stages of the process. So it's, for example, at the first draft, the working draft, the inquiry, formal vote, TR and TS votes, etc. So we will have dedicated submission forms for each step, and those will basically guide the users through the documents that are required for submission. So a secretary doesn't have to remember or know all the rules of what documents he has to provide at which stage in the process. The submission interface will guide him through that. And there will be informational text with links and explanations on each field to be filled out, so that the secretary really has all the information about what to do in the same place as he submits the documents. So we will then do a number of quality checks on the documents as they are submitted. So if there is an error that we can technically identify, then the user will automatically know and not be able to continue his submission until this error has been resolved. So that obviously speeds up the process quite a lot, because when you upload, you can immediately see that there is going to be a problem downstream. So from some of the quality checks include the format of the documents. So we're going to check that you're not submitting documents, but really docx documents. We're doing a lot of checks on the graphics, which are currently the main pain point. So that make sure that the graphics are in the correct format, have the right name, the links of the graphics are done correctly, etc. And of course, we will check that the files submitted are complete and that you are not missing a crucial file at a given stage. And lastly, the user will be able to view the status of their submission at any time in the process. So why would we want to change? I mean, I've already identified the pain points. So what are we going to do about it with the new submission interface? We are obviously aiming to provide a user-friendly interface. We're going to reduce the risk of errors by giving clear and unambiguous instructions and associations of documents to the various work items that you are submitting for. We have automated validation so that the checks are done at the source and not downstream. So it's going to be much quicker and more efficient. And the secretaries will be able to see where they are and if there are any issues at any time. And it's then going to be integrated with the CCMC production workflow. So again, additional automated validations are possible. Everything that we do is aimed to make the process much simpler for every party involved, no ambiguity, and a lot of efficiency in treating the documents. So we will be implementing a very, very simple workflow, as you can see. Obviously, when nothing has been done, the state of the submission is going to be as not started, but as soon as the user submits it, it's going to be in status submitted. when all the checks are correct. Then it goes to CCMC that check the documents, and then it's either going to be accepted if everything is fine, or it would go into status rejected, where then the user will be notified that there has been an issue with the submission, and it's going to give a clear message of what the problem was, so he can go back into the submission interface and correct his submission. So from at a high level, what we're going to do is we want to work in a pilot mode. So we are, as you can see, in the process of developing bug fixing and testing with the CCMC production team. And we have already looked at selecting some TCs and communicate to them whether they would like to be part of the pilot. And here we are choosing committees, obviously, that have a high variety of different types of work items, so that we can really see that the submission interface works at every step of the process. And then we're going to kick off in mid-June a pilot with these committees that's going to last about 3 months. And while we do that, obviously, we expect feedback from the pilot users. So we'll be doing bug fixing and obviously also enhancing the system if something is not user-friendly enough. And we'll be adjusting also our communication and training strategy. And as of today, you can see we're communicating about the project, and we're aiming for a go live around the middle of October for all committees. And for a few months after this go live, it will also be possible for CEN and CENELEC to still continue to use the current process, but that period is going to be relatively short because we really want everyone to be on the new system as soon as possible. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Dorothée. So, Melanie.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So first, I'm going to start with the XML-based CCMC production chain. So we kind of realized a couple of years ago that the XML that we were producing, we had many return on the quality of it, because some of our members started to use it to produce PDF, and obviously what we provided was not good quality enough to have a PDF produced from the XML. So we have started investigating how we could improve the XML quality, and also that lack of quality was also a discrepancy. We have a discrepancy between what is in the Word and then what is in the PDF produced from the Word, and then from the XML. We don't really have all formats aligned because they are dealt with separately. So in 2020, last year, we investigated a tool, real-time publishing, to see if it would be useful. So we got to play with the tool for a while. We tried things like the management of the different fonts that we have for CEN and CENELEC, the consolidations that we have in CEN with the special tagging, the line numbering for draft and final draft for CENELEC, for example. So editors tried all of these things, and they were quite positive about using the tool. So this year we started the project, and since February, so we have started the customization of the tool. So basically editors have been doing the testing, reporting what was not correct, or trying to find out themselves what were the issues that they would need to correct themselves or to pay attention to. And yeah, the testing's been going on now for a while. And we should get to the end really and have a first version that could be used live. If you can go next, Eric, please. Yeah. So by the end of May, we will have a first version which will allow editors to render the XML in PDF for all CEN and CENELEC homegrown publications, nearly all of them. And the quality is becoming such by using the tool that they could just use the PDF and distribute the PDF produced with the tool instead of doing Word PDF. They could do XML PDF for already a part of the document. So it's managing consolidations, different fonts, joint documents, TC documents. So it's checking if it's a CEN lead or a CENELEC lead and adapting the font according to the lead. So that will be done more or less by the end of May. And when this is done, then we will look into the next steps that we have. So first, we're going to look into the draft and final draft. So we still have a few things that we need to fix to be able to use to have like a PDF that is completely usable being produced from the XML. So we need to fix something for the headers and the line numbering for CENELEC, which is not the service we are using. It's that they are also discussing with the contractor that line problem, because it's not coming from us or for them, from them. Then we will investigate if we want to use this for prior documents as well, and if all the drafting exceptions that we find, if we can fit everything into it to, in the end, if possible, then have the tool as the tool to produce our PDF. If it can be used as that tool to produce a PDF. And we also are investigating, or will investigate, and we haven't started yet, if we can replace the current production of the official title pages, which is a bit outdated, if it's possible to use that tool as well to produce the official title pages. So that is, all of this is not started yet, but at the next step, probably for next year. And I think, yeah, that's it for this project. Next is the workflow project. So I will just brief you about the production workflows, and then I will give the floor to Anna for the governance workflows. So we have 3 workflows for the production that are being used live by the team. So we have the management of translations, late and on time. There are small improvements ongoing this year, but they would like to have a bigger improvement, but realize that this really needs an in-depth analysis to make it work properly. So we will have to log a project to look into that, really have that workflow completed for the team. But because they didn't have any improvement last year, we decided this year to have like some small comfort improvement for the team to not leave them without anything new for the year. Then there's the incoming drafts and final draft and allocations of publications to editors, which is that workflow that will be impacted by the submission interface Dorothy explained a bit earlier. So at the moment, this is only a CEN workflow because we can manage the zip file we receive from eTrans. It's not a CENELEC workflow because we receive documents by emails, and it's very difficult to manage to put this into an automatic system. That workflow had a new release linked to business requirements and user comfort improvement last week. And we are now looking into how we can integrate this workflow with the submission interface. We will need to, and when that is done, then we will perform the analysis to fit all documents that come through submission interface into the workflow, so that the team can use the workflow to do all their checks, and also to their encoding, and also all the files movement that are happening when dealing with those documents and renaming and such, so that it's automated and not so many things are missed in the process. Then the next one is the finalization of publications before they are issued to the members. So the CEN workflow is now partly in production. We still need to deploy in production the part on the Vienna agreements, but everything CEN homegrown is in production. He's being used by the team and has received quite good reviews. It's not going to have such an impact as I've explained 2 years ago on late translation, which was like resolving all the late documents that were lingering there. But it's going to have more an impact on the quality of the data, because the issue with the publication is there's many things to think about, many dates to encode, many steps to remember, and that's how the workflow will help the team to try and improve the quality of the data. Next week, we have the kickoff meeting for the development of the CENELEC workflow. So the development is going to start very soon, and hopefully we can have that version in production before the end of the year. And in the meantime, when they're starting the CENELEC publication workflow, the development, we will start the analysis on the workflow for processing formal votes, so the editing of votes before they are launched. We will do a parallel analysis, CEN and CENELEC. If possible, we would like to have it as just one workflow if the process are closed. We will discover that during the analysis. If it appears to be more painful and more complicated for the team to have it in one workflow, just like it was for publications, then we would split them. but we will see how it works. For example, the late translation workflow is working very fine with CEN and CENELEC together. So we're hoping that for formal votes, we can do the same. And the analysis will happen between June and September, and then we will plan the development and have probably a more accurate planning by November on this workflow. And that's it for the production workflows.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. If I may just add something. So these workflows projects for the production, and together with the previous presentation of Melanie related to the conversion of XML into PDF, they are all related to a workshop that took place 2 or 3 years ago related to the quality of what is provided by CCMC in terms of data, but also of standards content. And all these projects are aiming to improve this quality. So at the end of the day, you will also benefit from all these improvements. So I think it's important to mention that. Okay, Anna, it's you.
Yes. So my first workflow is the governance workflow. And this is an internal process of drafting documents for PC, CAs, and AGs meetings. And the first part of the project went into production in January 2021, this year. And the second part is in production since March 2021. And my second workflow is the BT workflow. It is the drafting of BT documents. It's also an internal process, and it is in production since August 2020. And this year we're planning a phase 2, and the analysis was done in January 2021. And here we foresee a development to start in Q2 2021, and then the deployment should be in June 2021.
Hey, Christelle.
Yes, thank you, Eric. So I'm Christelle. I started working at CEN CENELEC a couple of months ago, and I've been quite busy with the IT communication strategy. You can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So the idea here is really to have a more professional approach of communication and to work on change management. So we want to have a systematic communication about all the IT changes. This could be updates, new features, etc. And this aims to prepare people for the change and to accompany them, so to communicate before, during the change, and after the change. To do so, we developed a communication plan. And for each project, we had to identify different things. So for example, why, the reason of the change. So what are the changes and what are the benefits of it? We also identified all the stakeholders involved and developed a targeted message for them, which is clear and concise in more kind of marketing style. The planning of the communication is also very important. So as I said, we want to communicate through the whole process, and not only last minute right before the launch, so people can acknowledge the differences and prepare for the change. And then finally, the channel is also very important. For each audience, we analyzed what's the best way to communicate to them. For the moment, well, it's mostly via email, but this will change soon as we are going to launch the expert site, etc. And my last point is that we worked, oh, can you just go back? Sorry. So we worked also on the look and feel of the communication. You can see there on the right side is a screenshot of the latest news that we send. So this is the new template that will be used, and you will see this in the next couple of weeks and months. So my second project is the Jira ticketing. Most of you probably have already heard of Jira. So it's a software that can be used namely to create help desks. And we are designing an internal ticketing system that will be launched in June for CCMC users. And this help desk will replace email requests step by step. So for the moment, it's limited to requests sent by CCMC users to the IT support and IT serve mailboxes. And the advantage of using this ticketing system is that we can really accompany the users to have different type of requests and create forms with specific fields. And this makes sure that we have the right information. And if we have all the information that we need, it makes it much easier for us to address this request. And of course, this gives a quicker answer, so it benefits to everyone. We can also automatically assign the request to the right team. So this makes sure that the right team will directly address it, that it won't be sent to the wrong email address and that we have to transfer it every time. So this makes it also quicker in the answer. There's also an easier follow-up of the tickets and a possibility to define priorities, which is not the case with emails. So this can be very useful. That's it for me, and I will give the floor to Jean-Pierre about security.
Thank you very much, Christelle. So Jean-Pierre, yeah, just to give the background, so Jean-Pierre will talk about the security. And we thought it was important during these times where, for instance, AFNOR was struck by a cyber attack very recently, maybe to give more information of what we are taking as measures regarding the security and what are the plans for the future. So Jean-Pierre, the floor is yours.
Okay, so my name is Jean-Pierre Brestrat. I'm working at CCMC and I'm in charge of the infrastructure. This presentation was also presented yesterday by Patrick Mert at the CACFIN. And so we thought it was very interesting for you to have the same presentation, maybe with more technical explanation. So I will briefly talk about the strategy, the system in place, and the past project, which were merely internal and external penetration tests, short for pen tests. The projects of 2001 and 2021 and 2022, and also some reference to the quality management systems related to the ISO 27001. Yes, okay, next slide, please. So, when we deal with infrastructure, we have always in mind that we need to improve security all the time. So when we notice something, we try to tackle the issue as soon as possible. Of course, we have a continuous process of keeping the systems up to date. Okay, this means several things. This means that, okay, we need to upgrade the operating systems. We need to patch the operating systems. We need to patch the existing third-party software, and we need, of course, when the software is not maintained anymore, we need to be sure that the new version is in place. This is not only for hardware and operating system middleware, but also for application. And sometimes this is forgotten. We need to, in order to, since we are a very small organization, we need to minimize as much as possible the different technologies we use. And this makes our life much simpler. And the big challenge is, of course, to balance the security and the level of security. Of course, you can block everything, but then the user might not access what he needs. And this is a problem, okay? And the usability. Okay, sometimes the user is not really happy the way we tackle security issues because he has to do a lot of different things, like having a long password, renew his password frequently, needs to use what is called multi-factor authentication to authenticate the systems. And of course, we need to take into account the costs. Can you? Okay, the system in place. Though these are major bullet points. Okay, so of course you need to have the infrastructure which is safe. Okay, the first layer is actually what is called the firewall, which protects you from the external world, but can also protect you from your own device in the network. So we have this let's say two-step approach. The normal stuff is the DMZ. So every website which is accessible or services which is accessible from outside should be in a specific DMZ. Okay, so we have decided to have multiple DMZ, which is kind of VLANs, where we have the different web servers located. And we have exactly done the same for the internal network. So for example, our test servers are not in the same environment as our production servers or the quality insurance servers. And it's the same for the workstation, for the laptop, which are connected through Wi-Fi. So this is the firewalls. Basically, a device, wherever it is in the network, has only access to the services it needs to function. Okay. And the NAC, okay, this is the short name for network access control. Okay, this actually secure the way workstation or device are connected to the network physically, I mean. So we have a meeting centers downstairs, everybody can come, okay. Wi-Fi is separated, West Wi-Fi, CCMC Wi-Fi, okay. One cannot connect to the other. And also, when you put your laptop, if you are a visitor or a CCMC user, when you put your laptop and you connect it with an Ethernet cable, okay, the plug recognizes you and you are automatically put in a specific environment where you have only access what you can access. Okay, this is a network access control. We use ClearPass for this, a solution from Arba Networks, and for firewall we use Checkpoint. Of course, you need an antivirus, but you need also an advanced threat prevention software, which is slightly different. Okay, for the moment, we don't have what is called an EDR. EDR stands for, I don't never remember this. So let me take my endpoint detection and response system. Okay, but we will talk about this later. We have also installed some monitoring and alerting tools. Okay, the major, since we are a Microsoft shop, the major stuff to secure is the Active Directory. For this, we have installed Microsoft solution to what is called ATR, Advanced Threat Analysis from Microsoft, which allow us to see which are actually the requests and the potential unsecure requests done on our Active Directory. And we are automatically alerted, right, for this. Okay, so we have this threefold approach. So Active Directory threats. We have also another tool called AD Audit Plus, which is also an internal tool installed on premises, which monitor all kind of stuff, the access to our file server, so kind of monitoring of all the activities, the logging, the invalid logins, the request made to the file servers. There are too many requests. Okay, it's kind of scan all our internal network to see if there are abnormalities. Okay. And last stuff, we have a monitoring tool in place for the servers, which give us the health of every server and every services or application installed on these servers. And we are directly notified if there is a problem with the health. Okay, basic stuff can be C drive is full, you need to intervene. Okay, of course, we are not warned when the C drive is completely full. There are triggers, okay, that we can adapt to say, okay, if the C drive has less than 10% free, okay, please notice us, okay? In order to keep your system fully operational and fully secure, let's say, you need to patch your system. So we have a patching system in place, also from Microsoft. It's called Configuration Manager. Yeah, System Center Configuration Manager. Of course, you need to get backup systems and make sure your backups are correct. Okay. one important things, we like all technologies, so we keep also our backups on tapes, and these are not offline, these are offline systems. I mean, once the backup is taken, the backup is offline. Okay, this is very interesting because if you get hacked, ransomed, well, not only your internal systems are attacked, but everything which is online to your system. So if your backup systems are online, well, you may end up with a system without valid backups anymore. So how can you restore to a situation, a safe situation? This is really important to take in account. Last but not least, we use several cloud applications, mainly Office 365 from Microsoft. And we have activated the multi-factor authentication, which is a second token needed to authenticate. So if you are on premises or in VPN, okay, this is not really used because we know who you are. But in order to connect to the VPN system, we use this factor authentication. So you need to actually launch the VPN client, then give your credentials, and then it will ask you the second token, which might be an SMS or what is called an approval via an application. In this case, it's the Microsoft Authenticator application installed on a smartphone. Okay. If we are not on the CMC premises, we can, of course, access our mailbox on the internet from everywhere. But for this, we need also to give the multi-factor authentication second token. And this is for users, this is for global administrators, and this is for guests. Some of you may be part of some teams we have set up in the Office 365 environment. You also need to get to give the second token in order to be authenticated. We use Exchange Online. So we have set up cloud security, of course. We block well-known exe, DLL, macros, stuff that can be harmful to us. I must say this works fine. Really, I'm really impressed. We switched a few years ago to this, and it's impressive how Microsoft has progressed in terms of security. There is nice stuff. Just for example, if you notice somebody, some users say, "Oh, I've received this nasty email," I think it's really a phishing. We can actually remove all these mails, all these similar mails received from all the mailbox in our systems. We have done this once, and it's very efficient. Of course, you have to know that this phishing attempt has been done. Let me go further. Rick? Past initiatives. So in 2017 and 2019, we have done 2 penetration tests. One, an external one, so a company located in Luxembourg called Teleindus. So we choose this company because we don't actually work with this partner. Okay, this is a complete external company. So we have no links to it. We don't use their services except for these penetration testings. This is very important because you cannot audit systems that you have helped build. You have to be completely objective about this. So we have done this penetration test in 2017. On the 15 vulnerabilities, we have 1 left. So of course, you have to interpret these vulnerabilities because sometimes, okay, you don't have the choice. We still have to use some systems and protocols that are used by you externally, for example. So we use an FTP server. One of the recommendations was to get rid of the FTP servers. Okay, this is not something you can do right away, of course, but you can increase the security, but you cannot throw away your FTP servers just like this. So what we have done for CEN we have upgraded, and for CENELEC also, we have upgraded all our underlying system and FTP servers to the latest version in order to be more secure. And we have, in case of CEN, get rid of the part of the FTP server which was secured by use and password. We just removed it, and we found other ways to disseminate the information. One vulnerabilities which still in there, actually, it was our meeting center kind of a calendar for the meetings, and to see if external people can request a slot and be present in our meeting center. We have mitigated the vulnerabilities, but the system needs to be rewritten. We have also done an internal penetration test. So the difference between internal and external. External, the people, they are not on site. They are on the internet and they do their stuff. Okay. Internal penetration test, they actually are on our premises. So they try to hack us being inside our organization. They were located in the meeting center. They try to connect via our printers. They try to connect via our phones. They try, and then of course we provided them with a user, a password, and a laptop so that they can try to hack the system from within. 15 vulnerabilities were identified. So the rating they gave us was average, and once we have finished plugged in the vulnerabilities, they said we were good. Okay, but it's very subjective, of course. So from the 15 vulnerabilities, 12 were implemented, and one was waiting for test of a new encryption system. So basically, the problem was we have fat client system, meaning the application use exe files, DLL installed on the workstation, and of course, in every kind of this system, there is a configuration file, and in the configuration file, the user and the password to access the database behind was encrypted, but the method of encryption was not sufficient and not easily cracked. And the main issue in most of the IT shops is that you have some legacy application running on some legacy systems. And this is very difficult to tackle because, well, it's not just an infrastructure issue. It's an operational and application issue. So it might be web application, it might be fat client application. Nevertheless, it's the same issue. At some point, you need to upgrade the application, and in order to be able to upgrade the underlying infrastructure. In our scale, we have 2 of these systems that are still in our environment. And of course, these systems, in order to work, they need old protocols, which are often not as secure as they should be. So this is a really issue for every IT shop. You need to get rid as soon as possible of this stuff, but it's not easy. Eric? And let's say furthermore, if you follow the best practice of Microsoft, you will find that some are really, really, really hard to get rid of. I will give you an example. Sometimes you have a third-party application, so we have no control on this. You need this application because it's give a service, and that is really needed for you. You cannot get rid of the service. In order of this service to work, it uses a not so secure protocol. What do you do in this case? The only workaround is to accept and put in place that a restriction so that everything else is protected, but not this one, not this server, this service that gives the application. Okay, this is, well, you have to live with it, unfortunately. In the projects from 2001, we will finally get rid of this unsupported server and unsecure protocols. We have a proof of concept. Currently, we use a McAfee antivirus system and advanced threat prevention system, but we want to, let's say, see if Microsoft Defender and Microsoft Defender RTP would be a valid replacement for this, because we want to go to, like I said, an EDR or an ETDR, which stands for Endpoint Threat Detection and Response Systems. What is it exactly? It's a system that collects all the events related to your workstation and servers, and everything is transported in the cloud. And Microsoft is using artificial intelligence systems and reporting systems. And the idea is to warn you if something is really happening in your environment and to notify you of these threats. It goes further than that. When we did the POC, it will also say to you, okay, this third-party application you have installed, like Adobe, but this is not patch. The patch is not the latest one installed on your application. You have to fix this. Chrome is not at the latest version either. There is this critical security updates that has to be put in place. This is very interesting. Same for Java stuff if it's installed on your laptop. We have also a small project, actually, to put our firewall into a cluster, an active passive cluster. We used to have a firewall which is a call standby, which was really great when there was no COVID. In terms of issue, it was easy to be in the office and to switch. Now it's not really the case. And we really want to make change on our infrastructure without impacting the users and having as much possible application and solution that can be changed remotely. And with this system, we can actually introduce a new version of the firewall, patch the firewall, and we patch the passive one. And when we are finished with the patching of the servers, we can switch to the active ones. And this is allow us to have really really small window of intervention. If everything works fine, people will not even notice that we have actually switched from a firewall. Okay. Like Crystal said, we want to go further in our communication for IT, and we really want to launch further awareness campaigns, for our users. Everybody is aware of phishing, that they need to change their password, but people need to be reminded. And we have also to be proactive. For example, in Belgium, there is, for the time being, a phishing campaign. Some hackers have launched a phishing campaign targeting by SMS and by email the user of the national post system, saying, okay, you have a delivery and you have to collect the delivery. And some people, they click on the link and that's it. Okay. We are going to assess also this year if we can take an insurance to cover eventual cyber risk in case we are infected. Okay. We have not done anything yet for the time being for that, but we will inform ourselves. In 2022, if the POC is for the replacing of antivirus is significant, we will switch to RTP for the server and the workstation. Of course, like I said before in the strategy, it's always a challenge, because during the POC, we noticed that we wanted to use something. Microsoft said, okay, this is best practice, use this. And I will not go further, but just by saying, if you do this, and in this case, it was putting the new Microsoft Edge Chromium browser into a sandbox. And if we do that for the time being, we cannot use the VPN, or VPN software is blocking it. So we cannot use it. We can use everything which is not sandboxed, but not the sandbox websites, which is not really what we want, because most of the websites we need to sandbox. That's where the majority of the websites are. The website we use currently, and we know that are secure, like access, for example, to Livelink, to something like that. Okay, we know it has to be secured. Okay, but if you go, for example, to a site where there are information about IT development of application, you want this website to be sandboxed. Okay? And for the time being, we haven't found a solution yet. So everything is Microsoft saying, okay, this is best practice. Some of them, you have to deal with this stuff and to see if it's really practical or not, and decide, okay, I will do this or not. We have also a project of a disaster recovery offsite that we will start this year. And we will take this opportunity to change the backup system we are using, to use something more up to date. Don't say it's not working, but we are using the software from HP, and it has been sold to another company. So it's time to move. And we, of course, we will redo some external audits to see if what we have implemented is still valid. Okay, Eric?
Sorry, Jean-Pierre?
Yes.
Because we have also a Q&A session, which is foreseen at the end. So we have
this is the last one. Okay, so we have to see. This is something a recommendation from the ISO 9000 audit of last year to take a look at the ISO 27001 and 20007 to see if what we are going to choose to apply. Okay. This is just the beginning, because we have to keep in mind that we are a small organization. That's it, Eric.
Okay, thank you, Jean-Pierre. So